Hi everyone, I'm Lesley O'Toole. I'm a contributor to Backstage and the LA Times, and I'm delighted to welcome to the stage the incredible Miss Emily Skeggs and Oscar-winning, brilliant Marcia Gay Harden.
Hi.
Hi. Again. So I'm not really quite sure where to start, but I think one of your quotes, Marcia, is so great. You said about this story that, it's like a car crash. You just can't stop watching. And also that the story is so crazy it has to be true. So can you both talk a little bit about, first hearing about this, first reading it, and your initial thoughts?
Well, I love true crime. So I'd seen the documentary and I've heard podcasts about it. And so when the script came across my table, I was super, super excited.
And did you not have friends saying, you need to play this role?
Oh, yes, I did. I had a friend message me actually while we were about to shoot this. And she was like, you absolutely need to play this person. And I was like, just give me like 3 weeks and then we'll talk about it. I just can't quite talk about it yet. Yeah.
I didn't know the story at all. I was intrigued with the script and the transformation of both of the characters. I thought that was really exciting. I like true crime, but I don't fall, oh, hello, hi, honey. But I just didn't know it. And so I think as an actress, it's so rare we find that you're allowed to transform. I feel like so often we get cast as some kind of a version of ourselves. And so this was really exciting for both of us to say, we don't have to look like we're known to look. We don't have to sound like we're known to sound. And we don't, and so that was what was exciting. And then to work with her, where she'd just come off Broadway, and she's just that kind of actor that I want to work with. So that's how it came to me.
Every time you say that, Marcia, I feel like I just check out a little bit. I'm like, this can't be real.
It's real.
It's coming out of Marcia Gay Harden's mouth. Icon of theater and screen.
That's true. She's amazing.
I love you. Thank you. I love you.
We always hear about men and women having to screen test together to see if they have chemistry, but obviously it's critical for a mother and daughter story as well. Did you immediately feel a connection?
Is it critical for this mother and daughter, though? I did immediately feel a connection with Ems because the things that we were concerned about were the things, how when you get to set first, or you approach a character first, like you complain first. Those are the things that are wrong, or the things that are the most exciting, the things you need to tackle to get into the right space were the things that we were tackling. So we were noticing the things that weren't working. Like, we had some issues with one of the elements of the look. I had a fat suit that wasn't quite right for what I needed. It was kind of cottony and fluffy, and I looked like the Pillsbury Doughboy, and I was like, I think it's from Party City. That's not gonna work. Okay, it was from Party City. And Em had other issues with the hair and the bald cap and the wheelchair. So those were the things that we bonded on, because sometimes I feel like I can be on sets and everybody's really separate. Like you don't talk about the process. But I think immediately we were into kind of talking about the process of what we needed to do to get where we needed to go. And then the fact that we liked to bitch and we liked to drink wine. So I was like, need I say more?
And I think we just come from a similar theater background where there's a lot of drive and there's a lot of motivation, and like we want to spend time in the world together to enrich the performance that you ultimately see, and we want to spend time with each other and make a community that I feel like is very distinctly theater in a way.
Did you guys see the Tonys last night? Those who saw it, there was like this joke about how kind theater people are to each other. And James Corden kept going, we don't have any ratings because no one's mean to each other. We've got to have a fight going on. And the joke was that no one could fight. They'd be like, you dissed me. And the person was like, oh my God, I love your work. And they're like, okay, thank you. Right?
That's hilarious. So as you're reading it, though, are your sort of actory juices getting excited? Because there's so much to play with here. I mean, your challenges are quite different being in a wheelchair. We'll talk about that later. But you know, having the physical transformation for both of you and this insane story, I mean, are you just reading it and thinking, yes, yes, yes? And I know that Lifetime is famous for its great roles for women. You know, we know that Hollywood is changing, of course, but, you know, Lifetime always has, you know, provided these great roles.
I read it and I think I'm lucky to be reading it, to be honest with you. No matter what job I do, I think it's my last. And so when the script came in, I thought, wow, I'm lucky to be reading it. I'm glad they're interested, and it's a real transformation. And so I loved that. And then I was thinking, shit, can I leave my kids? Can I do, you know, like all just the normal, they're just really normal life things. How long will it be? And how fun to bite into it. And then the things you have to remember, like, it doesn't matter if people like her, it just matters that somebody might recognize a little part of themselves in her. And so then Jordan and John, who are producers, were so supportive of that process to let us explore it. So the answer is yes and no. Like, you first read it and you think all the logistics, you know, how long is it going to shoot? Where does it shoot? What does it pay? And all that. And at the same time is a great excitement about what the job is coming up.
Yeah. So can you both talk about the physical transformation? I mean, your hair and makeup call was 3 a.m. daily. Joy.
We had a really amazing hair and makeup team who spackled my hair to my head with medical glue every morning and did some really, really, really wild things, really innovative things. Every day I'd get to set, and Patricia Murray, the incredible makeup artist, would say, okay, I've got another idea that I kind of want to try. Maybe we're going to try. She's just constantly innovating, and it was really exciting. It was really exciting to work with people who really cared about what was going on screen. And also for me as an actor, it was strange because I didn't realize with a bald cap, you know, your whole forehead's sort of glued down, so you have limited range in terms of how you can use your forehead expression wise. It really like starts to tell and wrinkle if you do certain things. So it was interesting to have to balance sort of like, all right, I'm feeling this emotion and it's coming out in me with this face, but I know I can't do that, so I have to kind of step back from the performance for a second and tailor it to the piece. It was a challenge. It was exciting and terrifying.
And what about essentially being immobile for much of the movie, in bed or a wheelchair?
Yeah.
How does that inform your performance?
It's really easy to feel trapped when you're stuck in a chair for 24 hours a day. It's really, the physicality of it came really naturally because I felt very stuck. And with the wheelchair, these things are really, they're not easy to maneuver. And so I really made it my goal to be really good at this wheelchair by the end of the shoot. And I think I got pretty good. But even just resetting a shot became really frustrating. And I think being able to use that frustration and that feeling of being trapped was really helpful.
Yep. And then you do look very like the real Dee Dee. I was shocked to read that she was a beauty queen in her youth. I mean, she'd clearly let herself go. But what was that?
I don't know what you mean.
No, I know. But what was that transformation like for you? Did you really feel different stepping on set
100%.
each day?
No, 100%. I mean, it was very important to me that she had weight that was not healthy. And it was also important to me that people didn't think I was fat shaming, but at the end of the day, I had to give that up because this is what this character was. And there was a lack of health about what her body was. And she carried around the weight like a burden. And that was really exciting to me, that it seemed that, because you could see pictures of when she was younger, and she was beautiful. I might not have voted for her for the beauty queen, but whatever. But she was beautiful. It was just like a different time. It was kind of a dated, different time. And then there was this, and historically, she might have actually poisoned her mother. And she might have also poisoned her stepmother. She had worked in a nursing capacity, so she knew about administering negative medicine, let's call it. And when she was asked to care for her stepmother, she'd gone home. I think she had the baby by then. I don't remember, Ems.
I think so.
I just don't remember, but she'd gone home to take care of her stepmother. And during the time she's there, the stepmother got markedly worse. And then when she left, the stepmother got immediately better. So she had a pathology. And Munchausen is a pathology that I know nothing about. I thought it was a city in Germany, as far as I know. So it was this pathology of, keeping others sick for your glory. So that is what it is, by proxy anyway. So I noted, looking at the history of her pictures, that the more harm she did, the bigger she got. And it was like she was covering up, but it was also like all the guilt was just coming on her body. And I thought, that's interesting to play. It's important, because I know at one point they had thought maybe you should just be you in her younger, like in her 30s, 40s, and then you can do a kind of a fat suit for her older. And I was like, first of all, just be mean, like I'm so chubby, I could, like suddenly your vanity, and it was good. Suddenly your vanity gets involved. You're like, no, it's got to be more exacting. And then that was good, because then later when I was really in the fat suit, sorry, I'm taking so long with this question. When I was really in the fat suit, it made me limp a little bit, right? And it made me, and then the hair, and then the eyebrows, she was, not attractive. And then people treated me badly. When we'd be out places that were public, like at the grocery store, it was like a kind of like not a Costco, what kind of a store, like a Ralph's? No.
Yeah, like a
Walmart's.
Ralph, like a Walmart. They sold
Yeah.
the hats. They actually sold hats there, which was strange to me. Oh, and they had some farming equipment.
That's what I mean. They had all this together.
like things for horse catheters.
Right.
It was a really weird store.
And food,
and
too.
fruit.
Right? But in that store, a man was really mean to me, and he'd said something about not recognizing it. He was not talking about me. He said women drivers are shit drivers, basically. And I said, well, I'm a woman and I'm a good driver, but I was my Dee Dee, and I was smoking because she smoked. And I said, well, I'm a woman and I'm a good driver. And he goes, oh, I didn't recognize you. And he meant as a woman, like this blob of person is a woman. And I thought, wow. Interesting, because she got fed that shit all the time.
Yep.
And how does that affect you in society? Anyway, that was a very long answer. I'll cut to the chase next time, I
Are
promise.
you saying you did that just as part of your research to see how people would react to her? That wasn't an actual filming scene?
No, it wasn't a filming scene, and I like doing that. I like going out in public in ways to see how people treat you, and then it just informs a little bit of you. I mean, there's all different kinds of actors. There's like Daniel Day, who never breaks character, and that's not me. I like the crew too much. And I like to joke around with people, and Emily and I would have hysterical fun times on set, racing through the set with a wheelchair in this store. Until one woman told us to stop that, you two.
When we were doing that scene where Tate comes in and says, hey, how you doing in the grocery store? Someone actually thought that we were people having a fight. They didn't see the cameras. And this woman came running over and was like, don't talk to her like that. You can't do that.
Thank you.
Oh, we got a table.
Another table for my coffee.
There you go.
Thank you.
And how does being a mother inform this film?
That's huge, because I think when I first took it, that's the part that I wanted people to see, the mother in her. But the more I investigated her, the more I had to admit she was a bit of a monster. I mean, look, you can go, it's pathology. It is. But she's still a monster. That this child can't forgive the loss of her life. Well, my mom had mental issues. Well, she may as well have been in a basement. You know what I'm saying? It was no different. So, but then I thought, if you can extrapolate, like if I can't relate to it, I have to extrapolate what I can relate to. And I can tell you, my kids see me as some version of that woman. They 100% see me as a version of her. Mom, you're so strict. Mom, you don't let us do that. Mom, you won't let us have our freedom. And so, that's what you do. You just extrapolate.
And is finding the humanity in someone who appears a monster to the outside world particularly challenging?
I wasn't the monster.
No.
I was a monster. A monster.
Only because you're alive, everyone believes your story.
Right. I think she is a monster in a way.
This was our thing. We would talk so much about this because whatever you know about this woman came from her. But she was born, the minute she was born, she was lying. So it was really interesting. We tried to figure out what really went on in the house. Like there's stories of me putting her in the closet, and I would have to say, did that really happen though? Or is that a really good story to tell now because you're in prison because you killed me, and so it helps your story.
And there are other stories where she had a ID that gave her real age. And one time she had a bunch of boyfriends before the first one, and one of her boyfriends was in the hospital, got in a horrible fight.
Christian dating sites, by the way.
Christian dating sites. And he got in a horrible fight and ended up in the hospital. So she got out of her wheelchair, ran to a neighbor and said, "Can you take him to the hospital?" And the neighbor was like, you can walk? And she was like, "Yeah, I'll tell you later." And showed up at the hospital with an ID knowing her real age. So you wonder.
Yeah. You obviously play younger than you are. You look young. How is that an advantage and a disadvantage as an actress?
I think that obviously experience is always an advantage, and I feel like I'm a very youthful person, and that's always going to be who I am, and I'm very happy about that. I lotion every night, and but I think sometimes people think I'm younger than I am and talk down to me a little bit, and kind of treat me as if I don't really understand the direction, or something that I wouldn't quite get it, or I was in a car driving in Florida 2 months ago, and my aunt was in the passenger seat, and I went through a toll, and the woman almost didn't let me go through because she thought I was too young to be driving a car with another person in the car. So I think that's about 14. I think the advantage is I have experience, and I have a well to draw from, and the disadvantage is sometimes a role that I have the mind for and the heart for and I'm really ready to take doesn't come my way because I just look a little young, and it would be kind of weird if she kissed that guy, wouldn't it? Or,
Yes.
Saga.
You both trained in acting, you both studied it, and I'm just curious, looking back now, obviously you're closer to it than we are, than our generation is. How valuable was that study for you, would you say? But I mean, both of you.
Invaluable, totally invaluable. But I also, I think I came away from Emerson College with a really great, strong foundation, but I've always been someone who learns better by doing and by being around incredible people. So I think it was invaluable, but also I think the true experience comes from just being out there and experiencing it and doing it.
I remember when I was in college, undergrad school, and I had studied my first year in Greece, and so I kind of got to know the Greek theater. My dad was in the Navy. And then my second year was in Germany, and I thought, I'll take a drama class. And the teacher said, "Oh, you're good." I was like, well, then that's what I should do, isn't it? Like, it was like, that's a little pat on the head, and I was like, in. Yeah. And then I went back to Texas to study, and I had to choose, and I studied theater. And my first play was a Chekhov play, and I realized I knew absolutely nothing. I had no craft whatsoever. I didn't know why I should go stage left or stage right or stage this or stage that, or I kind of knew how to cheat because I'm an exhibitionist anyway, so it's like this makes perfect sense. But it's so weird when you're working with people who've never been on stage before, and they don't know that. They don't know that three-quarter thing to be always cheating toward the audience, and they're just perfectly here. Like, it was interesting because that was me in the beginning. And then I went to NYU, to New York, and I rated 9,482 tables or more. And finally I thought, there's something that I don't know. There's something about, like, when I go up against someone who, for the public or whatever, I don't know something. And so I went to grad school. And that grad school for me was, all the training was invaluable, to know how to approach a character, to know the questions to ask for a character. And it always comes back to acting 101. For me, it always comes back to that when you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know why. And you're like, are you centered? Have you figured out what you need to do? Are you breathing? What is your moment before? To me, that's the hugest thing. Because that means, do you have keys in your hand? Where were you? Are you bringing in groceries? Usually, because prop guys don't want you bringing in groceries. Why? Crinkle, 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 crinkle of the bags. So you'll be like, oh, okay, I guess maybe I shouldn't. Or bring them in and put them down like right away. And like, it's not real human behavior, right? So the moment before for me is really exciting. And I came to that moment before understanding it in training, but then I saw it in real life during Miller's Crossing, because Albert Finney was in Miller's Crossing, and it was my first film ever, and I was scared. And he was at the top of these stairs, and he had to come down, having midstream beating up Gabriel Byrne. So he was standing at the top of the stairs, and he was going, hoo, 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 and doing this very public, like while they're going on camera, speed, doing this and this and this, and I thought, how embarrassing. I don't know what he's doing. Like, it's so embarrassing. and then as soon as they said, and action, it was like, bang, bang. He knew just where to go. He was slightly out of breath. His lines were perfect. The groans in the lines, it was all perfect. And later he said to me, darling, it's being private in public, isn't it? That's what you have to do, be private in public. And I thought, well, that is what you have to do. And sometimes the moment before is about that.
Yep. Yeah. And you knew from an early age, Emily, that this was what you wanted to do. You actually went to the FAME Performing Arts High School.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Yeah, I did.
So at what point did you know this was the life for you?
I was always an overactor, I think. Like, I overacted in school, and I caused a lot of trouble, and my parents called me the wolf child, and they like signed me up for bowling because they were like, she just needs to like throw stuff and destroy stuff. So I think my parents probably knew before I did. But I'm also a writer, and I've always just been really excited by story and by making human connections. And I think my favorite thing about doing this movie that is sort of a pillar in who I am was having a person who's so out there and who you look at and you're not quite sure how you could ever relate to this person. Finding that and trying to help people also find that in her was a big goal for me, and something that was really exciting about taking this project. And so that's sort of like, while I'm an actor, I think I'm just also just fascinated by people.
Absolutely. And of course, not to diminish on-set training, you obviously learn so much in every production. I'm just wondering what you each learnt from each other making this.
I mean, did you guys just hear that story? She's got like 3,000 million of those. Yep. She's an icon. She's a true icon. And also one of the kindest people I've ever met, and one of the most generous people I've ever met. And I think that kindness and generosity is really important in what we do.
I think so too. We often think of it as such a catty business. And at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be. And I think our experience, and a lot of mine, is that it's not that. I think of it as a circle. It's really my life philosophy. I tell my kids, life is a circle. It ever widens. When there's bad shit, it closes, but it widens and closes. It's not a pyramid, because someone's always falling off the top of a pyramid. It's got to be a circle. On this one, I learned something very specific from Em that had to do with craft. Because the real character speaks, if you ever heard her, she speaks like this, kind of like Minnie Mouse. She did at that time when she was younger. Now that she's been in jail, she doesn't speak like that anymore. But she'd had life training. I'm actually not joking. It's really nice that Disneyland is there, so we can all know that our dreams and princesses live. And you want to fucking strangle her. But I thought Em was going to do it. And there was a part of me that wanted her to do that, because I thought, what a great character challenge. What a great. And Em did not. rightly so, because you couldn't listen to that. You could have never fallen into the character. You would have judged it and just never believed in the love and the important things about the character. But what she did was still this journey toward it. And it was a softer voice, and it was a kind, I mean, you saw it, right? It was kind of a softer and back in there, but it was grounded. So I don't know how she did it, but to me that was like acting 101, MGH. You don't have to be extreme. Sometimes life is more extreme. I mean, I will tell you, when I auditioned for Pollock, I did all the research. I rented the videos, and when I went over I had one little audition with Ed Harris, and then I went over to his house for my second audition. And when I walked in, I was in character because, I wanted the role. And so I was like, hi, Eddie. But we'd done a play together before. So he was like, what are you doing? I'm doing the character because I know, and she was the museum and everything. And he said, Marcia, first of all, people can't listen to that for 2 hours. So you've got to find some other version of that we can listen to. And
I could listen to that
Right?
for 2
I know, I could
hours.
listen
I
to
love that. I think we have a comedy brewing right there.
No, we do. I love that. I mean, I love that. But maybe that was the point, was that it was too, with those extremes, are almost too comic, and yet they're real. But maybe the audience doesn't feel safe. Like you have to, when you see someone get on stage and their voice cracks a little or something, you just go, I just don't feel safe. Do you know that feeling? And you just can't relax. And then somebody comes and does something like, I think it didn't feel safe.
So did you quickly recover from that with Ed, or did you just think you'd blown it?
I'd blown it clearly, and and the little girl, his daughter, came in. I was like, "Hi!" And Amy, his wife, was there, and it was just like one of those things where you want to be relaxed, but you're not, because you're in a famous person's house, and so you're really nervous, and that's how I felt, just nervous, but excited about. Ed was a gorgeous director, and when I finally did get the role later on, I worked really hard with a voice and speech coach in New York to just find a way, because this is so not about this movie, I'm sorry, I'm digressing, but I met her niece, Lee Krasner's niece, whose name was Rusty Kanakogi. And Rusty Kanakogi said to me, and this is a woman, and she said, if you want to play Lee Krasner, start screaming from the minute you walk through the door to the minute you leave. I was like, I had these she was strongly matter of fact. That's what she used to say to me. It's great stuff that only family can say. So we incorporated that a little bit.
Never apologise for talking about your brilliant Oscar-winning film.
Please, no.
My lady.
Thank you.
So the real Gypsy, your character, is in prison. She's eligible for parole in 2025. Was there ever any thought about reaching out? And, I know that you didn't, but if you had, what would you both have wanted to ask?
I think I would have wanted to know, obviously, how much she knew. I don't think she would ever reveal that to me. I would want to hear about the nice times that they had, and I would want to hear about the normal stuff. I want to hear about what happens behind the closed doors. I don't think we're ever going to hear it, though. And I would really have loved to have met her. I've played a lot of real life people before, and I find a lot of value in meeting the person and seeing the way they walk and watching the way they think. And I find it fascinating. I love playing real life people. Our story is based on true events, so we sort of had to take our own way with it, our own path with it.
Yeah, because it wasn't the true event, it's based on.
Yep.
And while we wanted to put other things in there, we couldn't. I had the same thing. Ems and I wondered, come on, break it down. Did they ever sit and the mom go, watch this, honey, put on your baby voice. We're going to get not Disneyland this time, we're going to get Disney World. Come on. What was the collusion between them? That's what we wanted to know. And you won't know. To her credit, she took all the blame in court for the boy murdering Dee Dee. He has an IQ of some incredibly low value, and she's much smarter, and she sort of manipulated into it. And she took all the blame. She said, I did it. I'm the one who, it was all my idea. But she wouldn't talk about their collusion because that would implicate her, negatively. I mean, truthfully, the poor child never knew a real relationship. But did you look up after I told you? I think the guy she's now engaged to. Oh. She's engaged to some prison guard, I think it is. Maybe either a prison guard or another prisoner. Something like that.
I think it is a prison guard.
Yeah.
I think it is. Yeah.
Sort of very Patty Hearst.
So
yeah.
I feel like she's a character who doesn't know how to not be needed by somebody. Mm-hmm. And I feel like she was needed by her mother, and now that she's not here, there's a void.
Yeah, her mom used her as a parasite, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Or the mother was a parasite, I guess, to her. That's why she bloated up like a big tick. Yep. She was, right? She was eating off of her.
Yeah. So the timing for this film is quite prescient. Obviously, mental health is a huge subject all over the world currently. What do you want audiences to take from this?
For me, the timing was prescient also because of the Emperor's New Clothes syndrome. Mm-hmm. And the person in power, because they said it was like this, everybody around them believed it was like whatever the person in power has said it was like, even though they could see, hello, the girl ran across the lawn, or things were kind of odd, even though they could see that it wasn't, but that my character was believed and so wonderfully manipulative because she just seemed like the nicest person and just so caring, and that she was believed so much to this child's detriment. So it was kind of something about that, and I, couldn't help but make certain comparisons and about how we are in the world. We believe if we're told something enough, we believe it's Absolutely. That way. And so it was kind of a disturbing understanding for me.
And the Rashomon element obviously contributes to that. It's so fascinating, the different perspectives. That was always in the script, I'm guessing. Yeah. You did say you did add some things. Is that right? Is there anything you can?
Sometimes one of them didn't make it in, and Em and I really are upset about it. And some of them did make it in. It was great. In this scene where I'm banging the computer, I threw it on the floor in front of her, and then I just looked at her and we threw this in. And I said, "Pick it up. You're so capable, or you know so much. Pick it up," and she did. Because she'd now been walking around. And I really wish that woman had been in there because
me too. That was so good.
So gross and mean.
I wonder if she'll do a director's cut. Maybe. That would be nice. I think we really wanted to take care of these women. They're real life people. And I think that we really wanted to make sure that their story was told in a just way where, even if what they do is so evil and base, if they saw it one day, if she saw it one day, I wanted her to feel at least well represented in some way. So we tried to make changes and pull for things where we really felt they needed it.
Yeah, and you did that. There was an innocence about her that you could have been brittle, but you weren't. And I thought that was really beautiful. You let people get into her, because at the end of the day, she's the one who's still alive, and she was the victim of her mom. And I thought it was beautiful, Ems.
Thanks.
Okay. And that's a very good note to end on. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming, and thank you for being here.
Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it.